Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We are 2 weeks out from Britain's Strongest Man. I almost made the mistake of speaking about Britain's Strongest Man today, but not yet. We're not there yet. So instead today we're just going to cover some of the comments like I was going to do anyway. So let's get cracked straight in. Obviously lads, if you want to head over to my website, these are the new jumpers at the minute. This is a 3XL, so if you want to hit the link over here, scroll down through the page, pick up something, a hat, a t-shirt, I would much appreciate it. Thank you very much. Okay, the first question, it was in relation to one of the last videos I did. Casualty. Iron Baby is a good nickname, but the pull-out king might be better. You know, a lot of the time he has pulled out a lot and he's had genuine reason for pulling out because he is unfortunate with injuries. He gets a lot of elbow injuries, bicep injuries, and then he's had some bad news with his own personal life that he's had to pull out over. But you know what, Casualty, whatever your name is, you cunt. When you do as much as Iron Baby's done, he's broken multiple world records. Do you know what? Then you can say something like that. But until then, why don't you, that hole in your face, put your fist into it, you cunt. Anyway, moving on. Suits are cheating, IMO. Aaron Barlow. If you think suits are cheating, I'd love to know what you're deadlifting that you think they're cheating. Like, is there such a massive difference between your raw deadlift and your suited deadlift that you would think they're cheating? And they're not cheating because they're loud in competitions. You can't. What point are big numbers if the athlete is getting assistance? We want to see who the strongest raw deadlifter is just using the strength of their body. No, we don't. There's a small minority of people that want to see. And plus, why not see what they can deadlift with a suit as well as without one? Anyway. That's the only issue I have with Thor's 501, the suit. Only morons think that the lift isn't legit. But I guess for wearing a suit category, see what I mean? You even think it's a category, wearing a suit category. Thor's lift stands. I think that if Thor peaks perfectly and continues his recent strength gains, like he did a 200 kg push press and looked easy, Thor might beat Mitch. Thor did. It was a behind the neck press. 200 kilo press. To be honest, 200 kg behind the neck press is a bare minimum. When it was at World's Strongest Man, I think everyone that was there got the 200 kilos and it went up as far as 250 kilos with Novikov winning that. So 200 kg press behind the neck is not impressive. I think at any stage of the week I could do that. Though I might jerk it, but you know. Thor might beat Mitch, but I think Thor's return to form is going to take longer and Mitch will take it. I think Mitch will take it. I think Thor will take the deadlift though, absolutely. There is, in my opinion, there's no one on the same page as Thor when it comes to deadlifting. Raw, suit, I don't care if it's deadlifting grapes we're doing, Thor is number one. But Mitch and Trey, like you said, will put up great numbers and it could be close. It could be close. It depends on what Trey does because Trey is a very clever lifter. Mitch obviously is as well. I think it's going to bottom out at 1,000 pounds again. We're not going to see anything close to 501. That's my opinion. Moving on. Strong Stories 3183. Paddy Haynes and Ben Glascock being invited over Paul Smith is ridiculous. Paddy came last at last year's Brits and Ben came 5th at England's Strongest Man, hardly deserving of a spot. Listen here, you cunt. There's a reason we have qualifiers. And in the qualifier, I screenshotted this. Kane Francis won the qualifier for Britons. It was England's Strongest Man was the qualifier, by the way. In second place, Andrew Flynn. In third place, Paddy Haynes. Are we just going to disregard the results from this competition? And in fifth place, Ben Glascock. And I went down through the names and there was no sign of Paul Smith, who should have been here if he wants to go to Britain's Strongest Man. And he wasn't. And that's because Paul Smith was on holiday. Okay? So, you know, if Paul wants to go to Britain's, he should have done the qualifier. And Ben Glascock, actually, I was looking at some of his training. His training is really impressive. He's training with Adam Bishop at the minute, which is always going to benefit you when you train with an old dog like that. And his press looks class, his deadlifting looks amazing. So I'm all for having Ben Glascock invited. And Paddy Haynes is always a top contender. He's not the greatest log press ever, but he's working on it, which is the main thing, and he can only get better. So I'm excited to see these fellas. They're hungry young fellas as well, which is what you want in the competition. Moving on. I think if Matthias comes in injury-free, he may be in the mix of top three, only losing points in deadlift. Yeah, I would not be surprised if Matthias comes in, fucks up the deadlifts, but still comes in second because he's so dominant in everything else. Log press, carries, anything you give that cunt, he will fucking... Jesus, he'll give it to you. Except for deadlifts, unfortunately. And it's not he's a bad deadlifter, he's just, when you're at the top level, if you're not fucking deadlifting the 1,000 pounds these days, you might as well fuck off, basically. That was Chris Loder. Moving on. Pukestalman, the Highland joke. Do you know what? I bet you're the type of cunt, right? We all know that Luke does suffer with mental health issues, whether you like to believe it or not. Well, I can tell you that he does. And if Luke was to do something so stupid as to take an attempt at his own life, or if he succeeded at taking an attempt at his own life, I bet you're one of these cunts that'll be like putting up the comments, oh no, I can't believe this happened. Yet you're the first cunt to be constantly fucking poking someone online. If you're not going to say it to someone's face, do not say it online, you cunt. Moving on. Paz entire notoriety becomes from calling out people's bad behaviour, but then says it's not his place to call out Luke. Fascinating. Is it really that fascinating, you cunt, Darko? I've said cunt a lot in this episode. I'm not getting paid for today. Listen here. My thing is calling out bad behaviour, mainly from comments from people that I don't know. Stupid little comments as a jokey little fucking thing. But I'm not going to divulge into a man's fucking family issues where there's a child involved and give my opinion. So no, this has nothing to do with me. I will not divulge into it. So Darko, go fuck yourself, you cunt. Definitely not getting paid for today. Respect or vouch for Rory, pa. Absolutely deserves a spot at Britain's. I agree. He's such a strong young fella. I saw that Andy Black was invited from Scotland, and rightly so, you know, he's on the list. He was second place at Scotland's. Rory was second place at Ireland's. But to be honest, Joe, I'd rather see Rory there before Andy. I think Rory, to be honest, is a better strongman than Andy at the minute. I think he's just in better condition than Andy at the minute. But who knows, maybe Andy could pull the fucking finger out and do really well at Britain's. Moving on, where are we? Oh, they are. This is a really interesting one. What are your thoughts on Brian Shaw's process for picking the strongest man on earth athletes this year? So there was a lot of comments here about that, so I had to look into it. So here's what's happening with the strongest man on earth. So what he's doing is the top 5 from the previous year's strongest man on earth, which is Hooper, Thor, Lucas Hatton, Trey Mitchell, Austin Andrade. And you can't argue with any of those names. They are literally the top 5 strongest men on the planet. So then he goes on to say top 3 from World's Strongest Man, Arnold Classic, and Rogue. And I think with that, like, you're going to, when you mix in the top 5 from the previous comp, World's Strongest Man, Arnold, and Rogue, you're going to get the same couple of names there over and over again. He's picking the Shaw Classic Open Men's winner from last year, which, you know, you can't argue with that. And then he says he's bringing on North America's Strongest Man, which I thought was a bit weird, because then he goes on to say he'll look at other comps outside of the big competitions like Giants Live, Strongman Champions League, and Magnus for Magnus. I don't think North America's Strongest Man is any much more bigger of a competition than Europe's Strongest Man or the Giants Live World Tour. In fact, I think the Giants Live World Tour and Europe's Strongest Men are one of the big competitions. They're certainly more bigger than North America's Strongest Man, so that was a bit of a weird one. But it's good that, you know, that he's opening all lines of like he's looking everywhere basically for newer athletes, which is a great thing. So yeah, I kind of agree with it, apart from bringing on North America's Strongest Man and not looking at Europe's Strongest Man, or not looking at Britain's Strongest Man, or not looking at, because we all know Britain's Strongest Man winner is a fucking top 5 World's Strongest Man, you know. And same for Europe's Strongest Man winner. Why are they overlooked but North America's Strongest Man isn't an invite to World's Strongest Man. It was a weird selection. That's the only thing I'd say about that. You'll probably think I'm wrong because for some reason or other. Someone said it was perfect. Maxime, however, is questionable because Maxine won last year and he's getting an automatic invite. Do you know what? Maxine's the type of guy that he'll either come in hot or cold. He'll come in and he'll come last, or he'll come in and he could win it. He's just, when he's hot, he's extremely hot. So I think Maxine is a great competitor. I think it's great that Rogue wants to see a 501 go without a suit. So what if it takes a while before someone's managing it? Yeah, you know what? It's something to watch. While we're at it, why don't we go for a 300 kilo log press and a 250 kilo axle press? You know, or maybe we could do a 2-ton super yoke. So what if it takes a while to get it? Do you see how stupid that sounds? Moving on. What also sets him... Oh, this is in relation to Hooper. What also sets him aside is he's opened a new debate regarding his lifting style. Personally, I think he's just doing the most effective style of lifting. I agree with that. He's mixing technique with raw kind of brute strength. But look at his axle press when he does it with the Olympic style where everyone else does a strict or with a smaller leg push. Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of people should be looking at the way he does his axle because it's the most efficient way. He mixes like a split jerk to get it way up off his chest and he literally just presses out the last 3 or 4 inches. It's kind of the way I axle press. Same with the leg press. It's Strongest Man on Earth. Everyone said he was shallow, but when you look at it, he was economical. That's certainly a way to look at it. Economical. Would you say that about someone who was high squatting in a powerlifting competition? It was economical. But can you argue the pressing shouldn't be strict? But you can argue the pressing should be strict. No. I think let's just keep it A to B. Get it up however the fuck you want. Anyway, the Moose has brought something biomechanical superior to the plate, and it shows that brute strength isn't always the best way. You can't help but sit back and think, why didn't someone think of that sooner? I agree. I'm not really that competitive in strongman anymore. Now I know I'm prepping for Europe's Strongest Man, and that's just my goal at the minute, just prepping for that. But as an up-and-comer, if I was up-and-coming now, he's the man I'd be watching, doing everything, because he's very clever in what he does. But he's the perfect example then as well, because he's got great technique, he learns fast, and he's got that brute strength as well. There's not many people in the world can copy what he does either at the same time. Because he's got all the speed, he's really fit, he's got the brute strength, he's got the fucking brain, do you know? So it's just his makeup. He is extremely lucky, and he says that's one of the things he is. He's very lucky. So anyway, guys, that's all we have this week. I hope you enjoyed it. As usual, check out Cerber Strength. Use the discount code LINE. Make sure you check out my own website, buy my shit. And thank you very much. We'll see you next week for a Britain's Strongest Man in-depth look. Good day to you all.